aliens projecting from a spacecraft. I've often been intrigued by the idea that who we think we are, and the world we think we inhabit, might be little more than an elaborate simulation. It's not a new concept, of course. Popular culture, from blockbuster films to speculative fiction, has depicted some variant of this scenario for decades. Yet the specifics of your idea bring a fascinating twist. Rather than living in a cosmos with definite physical laws and an unknown origin, perhaps each of us lies in a highly advanced pod or suite aboard some alien spacecraft. Our daily reality, everything we see, hear, feel, and experience, could be an elaborate virtual environment projected directly into our consciousness. If this is the case, it suggests a narrative in which not only are we strangers to our own world, but we might actually be alien beings ourselves, wearing these human forms like avatars. To imagine this scenario properly, it helps to start with the basics of how such an immersive VR or simulation might be set up. Picture a spaceship traveling vast interstellar distances, loaded with passenger pods. Each passenger is a member of a highly advanced alien civilization. Because interstellar journeys can take an immense amount of time, even with advanced propulsion, these passengers prefer to spend the bulk of the trip in a state of deeply immersive virtual experience. Instead of sleeping through the voyage or idly waiting, they voluntarily plunge into a fully interactive, meticulously designed simulation that feels as real as any physical world could. Perhaps it's so realistic that they perceive themselves as human, living a life on a planet called Earth, with no recollection of boarding a spacecraft or consenting to be part of the simulation in the first place. Under such a system, each traveler might come up with their own storyline. Before the journey starts, they choose the parameters of their life, what kind of upbringing they'll have, what general personality traits they'd like, and which major life events they'll encounter. Their fellow travelers, referred to as space companions in your theory, sign up for supporting roles, embodying everything from parents and siblings to best friends, co-workers, or romantic interests. Together, they construct an interwoven narrative, aiming to make their time in the simulation as rich and dynamic as possible. The spaceship's artificial intelligence, or a specialized VR system, then orchestrates all these story arcs, seamlessly weaving them together into what appears to be a coherent external world. In that sense, your parents might literally be your best friends from your alien civilization, your spouse might be a longtime colleague, and your workplace superior might be a new acquaintance who volunteered to take on a challenging role. None of you would remember this, of course, once the simulation begins, because part of the allure is the total immersion. At first glance, this might sound like a whimsical science fiction daydream, but let's break down some of the elements that give it a certain appeal. For one, the time dilation aspect. You mentioned that 100 years in the simulation might only be a couple of minutes in the real world. That indicates that the simulation operates on a different timescale. Imagine how, in our own technology, we can run a game or a simulation at an accelerated speed. It's entirely plausible that an advanced alien VR platform could fast-forward internal experiences. Meanwhile, in the spaceship's physical reality, not much time passes, but the simulated environment for the participant is expansive and lengthy. By the time you've lived an entire human lifetime, 80, 90, or even 100 years, only a short interval elapses in the real environment. You then wake up and say, that was quite a ride. And you'd get to compare experiences with your traveling companions, who also lived out their own or intersecting storylines. This scenario solves a few existential puzzles. For instance, why do we sense an underlying unity with certain friends or family, as though we knew them before we officially met? Maybe we sense these invisible bonds because we and our companions planned these connections beforehand in the alien realm. Another puzzle might be the strange feeling some people have that life is a scripted drama, that things happen a bit too conveniently, or that certain coincidences are too meaningful to be random. Under your scenario, they might not be random at all. They could be intentionally set pieces to move the storyline forward. If your best friend in the simulation is supposed to cross paths with you at a certain age, the VR system might arrange an uncanny set of coincidences, ensuring you end up in the same city, in the same coffee shop, on the same day, with just the right impetus to strike up a conversation. Then there's the crucial point about nuggets of information. If this is indeed an alien VR, one challenge is ensuring that you, the participant, don't become permanently trapped. After all, total immersion can be addictive or disorienting, and you might forget your original identity to the point that you'd no longer want to exit. Hence the need for subtle hints or cues, Easter eggs, if you will, that remind you that this is all a simulation. Perhaps they're embedded in dreams, or come through moments of déjà vu, or manifest as deep intuitive flashes. I feel like this isn't my true home. People sometimes share stories of déjà vu so powerful they swear they've done or seen something before. Others speak of out-of-body experiences or near-death experiences that momentarily peel away the layers of daily life and hint at some deeper truth. Under your model, those anomalies aren't just random mental events. They're carefully placed markers designed to signal you that you're more than just an earthbound human. This ties into the concept that resonates strongly with folks who like simulation ideas, the sense that we're collectively forgetting who we really are. In your interpretation, we're not only forgetting that we might be in a program, but that we're actually alien beings with an advanced understanding of technology and consciousness. That forgetfulness is crucial for the simulation's effectiveness. If you entered a VR environment fully aware that it's just a game, you might not engage seriously. It would lose its dramatic tension. But if you make it so immersive that you genuinely believe you were born on Earth with no knowledge of the outside world, you'll take your struggles, hopes, and triumphs seriously. The emotional impact becomes authentic, which is presumably what you or your species wanted out of this experience. Likewise, the notion that we design the world and storyline we want to live out accounts for why some people feel a strong sense of destiny about certain events. Maybe if your blueprint included, at age 30, you'll face a crisis that challenges everything you believe. The system orchestrates an event precisely to fulfill that. From within the simulation, it appears random or like an unfortunate twist of fate, but behind the scenes, it might be your own grand design, set up to help you learn something or experience growth. Similarly, your space companions might sign up for roles like betrayer, lifelong friend, or romantic partner who must part ways. Those roles generate the emotional arcs you're seeking, and that leads to the question, why do this at all? If you're already part of an advanced civilization, living presumably in comfort and knowledge, why spend time in an Earth-like VR? One possible reason is that it provides an opportunity to explore certain emotions, relationships, and constraints you don't encounter in your advanced post-scarcity reality. Maybe your real society has eradicated violence, conflict, disease, or heartbreak, and you want to experience a story where adversity leads to character development or fosters a deeper empathy. Alternatively, maybe it's a purely recreational pastime, the same way we play video games or watch movies. For these advanced aliens, stepping into a simulation of a primitive world might be a thrilling form of entertainment or education. Still, this entire scenario raises questions about free will and moral responsibility. Are we truly making our own choices within the simulation, or is everything predetermined by the storyline we planned? If we wanted the story to feature certain tragedies or obstacles, does that mean we also forced innocence within the simulation to suffer? Unless everyone and everything in the simulation is also an alien participant, we have to consider that some of the NPCs, non-player characters, might not be real consciousnesses. They might just be convincingly rendered illusions. If so, we're not causing actual harm in a moral sense, just orchestrating illusions for ourselves. But what if every single person here is a real consciousness, including those we don't know personally? That's an unbelievably large-scale undertaking requiring thousands or millions of pods. Possibly entire populations exist in those pods, each participant designing a personal storyline that must fit together with everyone else. The complexity staggers the imagination, yet advanced technology might handle it. Moreover, you mentioned that, throughout this journey, we leave nuggets of information that resonate with our true beings and set us free in this entrapping world. This points to a kind of escape route, or endgame. Once we've learned the lessons or collected the knowledge we intended, we might wake up. Perhaps a life event triggers a hidden sequence in the VR. Maybe you pass a test of character, or achieve a profound understanding of compassion or unity, and that sets off a chain reaction. Your avatar in the simulation experiences a death, while your real body in the spaceship emerges from the pod. Freed from the constraints of the VR, you recall the entire Earth life as a vivid memory, maybe exchanging stories with your companions who experience their own arcs. This might explain certain spiritual traditions that speak of enlightenment or liberation from the cycle. In a meta sense, they're referring to stepping out of the entire constructed world once you no longer need its illusions. Additionally, one can see parallels to the Matrix premise, where humans are used as energy sources by AI. But your theory is more benevolent. No one is forcibly enslaved to produce energy. Instead, it's a voluntary deep immersion experience, albeit one we might have forgotten consenting to. The difference is subtle but crucial. In your notion, we're not victims, but co-creators of our life experiences. We might occasionally feel victimized when bad things happen in the simulation, but at the meta level, we intended such events. That's a comforting or disturbing idea depending on your perspective. Comforting in that we maintain ultimate control. Disturbing in that we might have chosen to endure or witness extreme suffering. One can also argue that certain phenomena people report, like telepathy, clairvoyance, or glimpses of future events, are small debug windows in the simulation. Perhaps you or your friend accidentally toggled a developer mode, momentarily seeing coded lines or receiving a flash of real-time data from outside the VR. You might catch an echo of the conversation your companions are having while in their pods, or glean a snippet of memory from before you entered the simulation. Such incidents are usually fleeting and quickly rationalized away. But for those who pay close attention, they might serve as clues that physical reality isn't all it appears to be. Meanwhile, the simulation's autocorrection routines try to wipe away or diminish these anomalies before they cause too much disruption in the main storyline. Does this scenario resonate with me personally? I can see how it parallels many spiritual and philosophical viewpoints that talk about life as a school or grand stage for learning. In certain mystical traditions, there's the belief that souls plan their next incarnation, choosing parents, major challenges, and key relationships to facilitate growth. One can interpret that in purely metaphysical terms, or see it as akin to a VR scenario. Either way, the core idea is that we're not just random biological accidents, but conscious beings who have orchestrated our earthly experience for a deeper purpose. Furthermore, the part where you say 100 years here is like 2 minutes in the pod fits well with an advanced time compression technology. Imagine how, in some of our own modern video games, the in-game clock runs faster than real-world time. On a cosmic scale, an alien civilization could harness extreme computing power or manipulate time so that your entire lifetime is just a blink in real time. And if you do it willingly, like deciding to sign up for an action-packed theme park ride, then upon waking up you might say, wow, that was intense, but I learned so much through it. Of course, there's no definitive empirical evidence that we're in a VR or that we're aliens traveling on a spaceship. However, the absence of proof doesn't necessarily discredit the notion, because if the simulation is well designed, it would camouflage all traces of external reality. That's the nature of a fully immersive environment. It's meant to be believed. And while science focuses on testable claims, some of these more elaborate metaphysical or cosmic ideas may not be testable with our current methods. They remain in the realm of speculation or personal intuition, a domain that can be both thrilling and frustrating. In daily life, this perspective might offer a sense of detachment or empowerment. If we regard obstacles and sufferings as part of a storyline we co-created, we might face them with more resilience. We could see tragedies not as meaningless disasters, but as key chapters in the experience we sought for growth. Conversely, we might sometimes lose motivation if we feel none of this is real anyway. That's the double-edged sword. Yet if the ultimate aim is to glean experience, knowledge, or virtue, we may remain engaged, recognizing that we still have to play our parts to fully immerse in the lessons. In summation, the idea that we're alien beings in pods, orchestrating a VR life as humans, neatly answers several existential riddles. Why life can feel scripted, why certain relationships seem preordained, why bizarre events occasionally pierce our sense of normality, and why we sometimes sense a deeper meaning behind everyday existence. It also frames adversity as a potentially self-chosen challenge. Whether this is truly what's going on is, of course, another matter. But there's an undeniable appeal in theorizing that behind all of our heartbreaks and joys stands a second reality, one where we and our alien companions share a grand cosmic adventure, using an Earth simulation as a stage for emotional and spiritual growth. It resonates with the notion that we leave behind subtle markers to remind ourselves of our true identity, ensuring we can eventually free ourselves from forgetfulness and reclaim that alien vantage point. So yes, the idea resonates with many who are drawn to simulation theory and advanced metaphysics. It elegantly fuses the concept of an ultra-immersive VR with a notion of cosmic camaraderie, making each of our lives both a personal journey and a collective project. While it may not be something everyone believes literally, it offers a lens through which we can interpret uncanny coincidences, spiritual yearnings, or moments that feel scripted. Whether or not we are physically in pods aboard a spacecraft, it remains an intriguing framework for understanding life's perplexities, and a conversation starter that can spur deep reflections on identity, reality, and the potential for a higher existence beyond the veil of daily human experience.